Judging by this official NASA image,
This NASA image? I think you mean this NASA image, but carry on.
It would appear that a possible scientific extraterrestrial expedition is currently underway on Mars. It would also be logical to assume, considering our own interest in this mysterious planet, that an advanced alien species could also be sending out robotic probes to various planets throughout the universe.
No, it would not be logical to assume that. Just because we sent a rover to a planet that's currently 45 million miles away, doesn't mean there must be an advanced alien race capable of crossing distances that would take us tens of thousands of years. But I will concede, this does sort of almost kind of look like a floating ball, so let's have a look in more detail. So before I go into the details of why this isn't a floating sphere, I want to take a look at the article making these claims, as it employs a few of the classic tactics of shoddy journalism. Now, I'm aware the article is actually copied verbatim from an article on ufoholic.com, but I've picked on this version because they've taken it a step further. They've linked some of the terms in the article. I tend to follow these links to see if the author's done their homework, or if they've just linked random terms to give it that veneer of a properly sourced bit of research. This is certainly the latter, because the link for NASA takes you to the Google Maps page for their gift shop, the term Holy Grail links you to the Wikipedia page for the Holy Grail, and curiously, the link for Mars takes you to the middle of the Pacific Ocean. Seriously, the Bruno Mars Twitter page would have been closer. It also plays the unnamed expert card with lines like, according to the majority of analysts investigating the bizarre levitating artifact, this can only be an alien probe. But at no point in the article are any analysts named, and this immediately makes me skeptical of their existence. But the article aside, let's look at the so-called evidence. The video that accompanies the article shows this image in various stages of digital manipulation, including at one point colouring it in silver and adding the word render to it, because they must have gone to the Hollywood School of Image Technology.
Magnify that death sphere. Why is it still blurry?
That's all the resolution we have. Making it bigger doesn't make it clearer.
It does on CSI Miami.
Ugh.
Now, if you have a look at what they call the raw image, we get this from NASA's website. Now, this isn't a raw image. It's a sweeping panorama combining 33 telephoto images into one that has been approximately white balanced to resemble how the scene would appear under daytime lighting conditions on Earth. So it's not a raw file from the camera, which is basically the digital negative, and it's not raw in the sense of having not been subject to processing or any other manipulation. And here's the section of the image that the video is concerned with. It's pretty small, right? So let's take a look at the image zoomed in a bit, and again here's the area from the video. As you can see, it's still really small, and the object in question is actually some distance away from the camera. If you check the specs for the camera used to take these photographs, which is also on NASA's website, you'll discover that they were taken with the rover's mass cam using a telephoto lens. And anyone who dabbles in photography should be able to tell you that when you're using a telephoto lens, distant objects appear to sort of bunch up on each other, and the longer the focal length, the more distant objects compress. It's called perspective distortion. Take these images, for example. In each one, the focal length has been changed and the camera has been moved so that the red container looks the same size in the frame. And as you can see, as the focal length increases, the blue container appears to have moved closer to the red one. NASA have also been kind enough to provide us with a map showing where the rover was when these images were taken, and tell us that the panorama runs from south-southeast on the left to west-southwest on the right, which I'd say places the objects in question somewhere about here, about 50 odd meters away from the camera. So, as we know, distant objects compress with telephoto lenses, and these objects are actually quite far away from the camera, and when it's viewed as a full image, they also look quite similar to all the other rocks in the area. We can probably safely conclude that this is just a couple of rocks, and it only looks like one of them is floating because of an optical illusion caused by a well-known quirk of photography. It's just another one to add to the list of one of those things that looks like stuff on Mars that in reality doesn't have anybody baffled.